The cafeteria fell silent when Mrs. Catherine Reynolds raised her voice. "This food is trash." She stood over 12-year-old Jaden Carter, blonde hair perfectly styled, navy suit pressed to perfection, holding a container of fried chicken like it carried some contagious disease. Around them, students froze mid-bite, watching what would happen next. Jaden looked up at her with quiet confusion, his yellow shirt bright against the harsh cafeteria lights. That container held more than lunch. It held 3 hours of careful work, his grandmother's patient teaching, and a promise to his father who was coming home after 8 months overseas. "I made it for my dad, ma'am." His voice was steady despite the trembling in his hands. Mrs. Reynolds walked to the trash bin without another word. The sound of that container hitting the bottom echoed through the room like a judgment. Students around them looked down at their own lunches, relieved it was not them, ashamed they felt relieved at all. Jaden sat frozen, watching his work disappear into garbage. He thought about waking up early that morning, about following his grandmother's handwritten recipe card, about wanting to show his father he remembered everything before deployment changed their lives. This is how injustice often arrives, not with grand announcements, but with small moments of cruelty disguised as rules. Let me tell you how we got here. Jaden Carter lived with his grandmother in a modest apartment 6 blocks from Riverside Middle School. His mother passed 3 years ago from an illness that came too fast and left too much silence behind. His father, Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Carter, served at the nearby military base, leading over 1,000 soldiers with the kind of quiet strength that made even generals listen when he spoke. 8 months ago, his father deployed overseas. Jaden counted every day on the calendar in his room, marking them off one by one, waiting for the moment his dad would walk back through their door. 2 nights ago, the call finally came. "I'm coming home Friday, son. Keep your head up. I will be there soon." Jaden decided he would cook the meal his mother used to make every Sunday before she got sick. Fried chicken, the recipe passed down through 3 generations, each piece seasoned with love and memory. His grandmother stayed up late with him, guiding his hands, teaching him the way her daughter once learned. Food is more than eating, baby. It is how we show love when words are not enough. That morning, Jaden packed the chicken carefully in an old container decorated with flowers, the same one his mother used for family picnics. He carried it to school like treasure, planning to take it home and surprise his father with proof that he was growing up, that he remembered, that he could carry forward what she taught them both. But Mrs. Reynolds had other plans. Catherine Reynolds taught English at Riverside for 17 years. She ran the standards committee, made decisions about dress codes and appropriate behavior, and believed deeply that schools needed structure. What she called structure, others might call something else entirely. Over the past few months, a pattern emerged. Students bringing cultural foods found themselves questioned, redirected, sometimes humiliated. It always happened to the same students, always for the same unstated reason, and complaints to the principal went nowhere because Mrs. Reynolds had seniority and influence. When Jaden opened his container at lunch, the aroma filled the nearby tables. Other students looked over with interest, some with envy. But Mrs. Reynolds noticed too, and something in her expression hardened. She walked across the cafeteria floor with purpose, each step deliberate, and stopped at his table. The rest you already know. After she threw away his lunch, Jaden sat in silence while his best friend tried to comfort him, and other students whispered about unfairness they had witnessed before. He wanted to cry, but would not give her that satisfaction. He wanted to scream, but his grandmother taught him that dignity meant staying calm when others tried to break you. Instead, he went to the office and asked to call home. The secretary said his grandmother was probably at work and he should wait until after school. But Jaden insisted, so she finally let him use the phone. His grandmother answered on the second ring, heard the tremor in his voice, and said she would be right there. What Jaden did not know was that his grandmother made another call immediately after, to a military base 6 miles away, to a number she was told to use only in emergencies. This was an emergency. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Carter sat in a meeting when his phone buzzed. He saw his mother-in-law's name and stepped outside immediately. Officers learned quickly that calls from home during deployment prep meant something serious. She told him everything. The lunch, the humiliation, the pattern of small cruelties disguised as school policy. Marcus listened in silence, the kind of silence that made subordinates nervous, the kind that preceded decisive action. When she finished, he said only 4 words, "I will be there." He changed into his dress uniform, the formal blues reserved for ceremonies and official business, every ribbon aligned perfectly, every button gleaming, every detail regulation perfect. This was not casual. This was a statement. Then Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Carter drove to Riverside Middle School. He arrived during 5th period, walking through the front doors in full military dress uniform, medals across his chest, command presence radiating. G from every step. Conversations in the hallway stopped. Students turned and stared. Is that someone's dad? Look at all those ribbons. That is a real officer. The recognition spread through the building like electricity. Many students had military parents. They knew ranks. They knew what that uniform meant. Marcus walked directly to the main office. The secretary stood automatically, muscle memory from years of military culture in this community. "Sir, can I help you?" "Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Carter. I am here regarding my son, Jaden Carter, and an incident in the cafeteria today. I need to speak with the principal immediately." The secretary picked up her phone with shaking hands. Within 2 minutes, Principal Walsh emerged, a thin man in his 50s who suddenly looked very uncomfortable. "Colonel Carter, welcome home. I was not aware you had returned from deployment. I returned for my son, who was humiliated today by one of your teachers for bringing lunch to school." Marcus's voice was level, controlled, but carried absolute authority. "I would like to understand your school's policy on cultural discrimination." Walsh's face paled. "I am sure there has been a misunderstanding." "Then let us clarify it together. Where is Mrs. Reynolds?" 10 minutes later, they sat in the principal's office. Mrs. Reynolds entered, saw Marcus in uniform, and her confident expression faltered for just a moment. "Mrs. Reynolds," Marcus began, his voice quiet but commanding, "I understand you threw away my son's lunch today and told him it was inappropriate for school." She recovered quickly, straightening her shoulders. "Colonel Carter, I was simply maintaining cafeteria standards. Some foods create disruptions. My son brought fried chicken his grandmother taught him to make." Marcus leaned forward slightly. "Please explain what standard that violates." Silence stretched between them. The smell was faint. "Wrong. It created an uncomfortable environment." "For whom?" Marcus asked. "Because my son was eating it comfortably. His friends were comfortable. So who exactly was uncomfortable, Mrs. Reynolds?" She shifted in her seat. "Some students complained. Names, please. I would like to speak with them." More silence. Principal Walsh intervened weakly. "Colonel, Mrs. Reynolds has discretion in managing the cafeteria environment. Does that discretion include targeting specific students?" Marcus pulled out a piece of paper. His mother-in-law had done research. In the past 3 months, 4 other students of color have had cultural foods discarded by Mrs. Reynolds. None were white students. That is not discretion. That is discrimination. The room went very quiet. Mrs. Reynolds tried once more. "I treat all students equally." "Then explain why my son, who has never been in trouble, who makes honor roll every semester, who lost his mother 3 years ago and has been counting days until I came home, why that child deserved to have his lunch thrown away in front of his peers." His voice never rose, but the weight of it filled the room. Mrs. Reynolds had no answer. Marcus stood. "I will be filing a formal complaint with the school district. I will be speaking with the base commander about whether this school environment is appropriate for military families. And I will be taking my son home today because he deserves better than this." He walked to the door, then turned back. "My son made that lunch to surprise me. It was his first time cooking alone. He wanted to show me he remembered what his mother taught him before she died. You threw away more than food, Mrs. Reynolds. You threw away his pride, his effort, his way of honoring his mother's memory." Marcus let that sink in. "I have spent 8 months in a combat zone protecting the freedom of people like you to live safely. I never imagined I would. Come home to find my son treated with such casual cruelty in a place meant to nurture him." Then he left to find his son. Jaden sat in the counselor's office, staring at his hands. When the door opened and his father walked in, still in uniform, something inside him finally broke. They embraced in the doorway, 8 months of separation collapsing into one moment. "I am sorry, Dad. I ruined your homecoming." Marcus pulled back, looked his son in the eyes. "You did nothing wrong. Nothing. Do you hear me?" Jaden nodded, tears streaming down his face. They walked out together, father and son, through hallways where students watched in silence. Some took photos. Some whispered. All of them understood they were witnessing something important. Outside, Marcus turned to his son. "Tomorrow we are making that chicken again, together this time, and we are going to invite your friends over and your grandmother and anyone else who wants to celebrate food and family and heritage without shame." "Really? Really?" Marcus smiled, the first real smile since he came home. "Because that is who we are, son. We do not hide, we do not apologize for our culture, we celebrate it." 2 weeks later, Mrs. Reynolds was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Principal Walsh faced questions about his handling of multiple complaints. The school board implemented new policies protecting cultural expression and food practices. But more importantly, Jaden learned something valuable, that standing up for yourself matters, that family shows up when you need them, that dignity comes from knowing your worth, regardless of who tries to diminish it. And every Sunday now, Jaden and his father cooked together in their kitchen, following recipes written in his mother's handwriting, filling their home with the smells of heritage and memory and love that cannot be thrown away. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to stay connected with more stories about courage, family, and standing up for what is right.